Because we're running a little late, let's get into it for the Board of Trustees for the Village of Lake Bluff on June 8th, 2020. Can I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Ankerman.
Here.
Trustee Charlo.
Here.
Trustee Dewart.
Here.
Trustee Markey.
Here.
Trustee Meyer.
Here.
Trustee Toll.
Here.
Okay, could we have a Pledge of Allegiance, please? And I pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States
of America,
to the
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we now have consideration of the minutes of the May 22nd, 2020 Village Board Special Meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Bonnie? Motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved. Ms. Markey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, second, Mr. Cole. Any corrections? Additions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Trustee Charlo.
Aye.
Trustee Dewart.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. At this point in time, we allow 15 minutes for anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Glenn, do we have anyone?
Not as of yet, Madam President. So if you
All
are
right, then
joining
I
us,
know. Okay, and I know you will let me know if we do have somebody.
most certainly.
Okay, all righty. I don't see any need, unless anyone else does, to rearrange the order of the meeting. So we'll go into the village finance report. And we start out with the warrants report for May 16th through 31st. And we have expenditures of village funds for payment of invoices in the amount of $297,302.13 for May 16th through 31st. We also have expenditures of village funds for payment of invoices in the amount of $207,701.30 for June 1 through 15, which are total expenditures, and which are and also expenditures for village funds for payment of payroll in the amount of $292,250.67 for May, which lead to total expenditures of $797,254.17. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Charlo. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
By Mr. Toll. Comments, questions for the Director of Finance or any administrator? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Charlo.
Yes.
Trustee Dewart.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Item number 60, which is the April 2020 financial report. Do I have a motion to receive the financial report?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Ankerman, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Charlo. Thank you. Could I have the Director of Finance to recap the financial report for April?
Sure. Some noteworthy items that were included in the monthly report: sales tax revenue on a cash basis for FY20 through April is $3,043,842, which is $183,474, or 5.7% less than the same reporting period in FY19. So just of note, April sales tax returns have not been submitted, and due to the extensions that the state gave, one may anticipate that we receive those in August. So they're not part of this fiscal year reporting. Home rule sales tax on a cash basis for FY20 through April is $884,352, or 4.4% less than the same reporting period in FY19, and the annual administrative fees are totaling $13,438. Building permit revenue for fiscal year 20 to date is $357,229, which is $41,837 less than last fiscal year for the same reporting period. And the April through May fiscal year 20 expenditures of $9,376,554 are $1,323,516 less than the expenditures for the same period in FY19. So it's important to note that year-end accounting entries will change some of those balances. In addition, FY20 capital expenses in the general fund were less than FY19. And additionally, the reversal of the FY20 interfund transfers also contributed to expenditure reductions. Current expenditures are consistent with or less than budget.
Does anyone have any questions for Bettina?
Bettina, just a question out of curiosity. When on that first note for the sales tax revenue for April, so that will be attributed to when it is actually received. Is that correct? Versus
Right.
Okay. So it could be any time between now and August.
So usually there's at least a 2-month lag. So we usually post in June back to the fiscal year prior. And this time they've given extensions of 2 to 3 months. So we may not see it till August or September.
Okay, thank you.
Interestingly, if you look too, if everybody saw that on page 3 of the monthly financial report, the sales tax graph, you could see that we started off the calendar year on pace to, again, have another all-time sales tax generating year, but for not COVID. And that was disappointing on many, many, many levels. But nonetheless, if you also see where we currently are, we landed at around 2015 levels. So again, all this depends on what is the economic recovery. Is there a resurgence? You know, is this a W? Is it a V? Is it a swoosh? pick your logo. So anyway, just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Any other comments or questions regarding this financial report? Hearing none. Okay, since this is just a receipt of the report, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, next is the village administrator's report.
I'd like to really just wish a fond farewell to our intern, John Scopoletti, who is leaving the village. Yeah, there's this fine photo. He's leaving us to go to the land of milk and honey and cheese up north to be a planner for the county of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. So John has been an exceptional staff member here at the village. We brought him in right after he finished his undergraduate in planning and said, we'll give you a time frame to either you join graduate school or we cut you loose. He joined and he completed graduate school and he has now found gainful employment. So he's been a great person to know. I didn't know John before he started with us. He's got a superior attitude, a great set of skills, and he'll go far. And I'm really thankful for him being part of our team for the last 3 years. So thank you, John, for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Drew.
I'd like to chime in also, John. You've been great, fabulous sense of humor, great work ethic, and always a ray of sunshine when I came into Village Hall. Thank you very much for your exceptional and professional service to us.
Thank you, President O'Hara. I really appreciate it.
If we had an in-person meeting, was this where we would stand and give him a round of applause?
Yes, we would.
Yes.
Yes, very much so. Good point, Barb. All right, Village Administrator, do you have anything else? Would you like to comment at all on the farmers market? Do we have anything to report?
I was going to add
that one?
2 things. Yeah. So one is we are a weekend with our slightly modified central business district with the area closed off for outdoor dining. And so lots of positive feedback about that from residents, the restaurateurs and others really enjoying that offering, and I'm pleased with the board's support of those activities. The second is, yes, we are 1 weekend to our farmers market, and thanks to all the planning, John was involved, Glenn, the committee, and our market manager Gridley. The farmers market went off extremely well. Our first Friday, we had phenomenal weather, and I think it is, I would say in general, and this isn't, I guess, a comment about both the outdoor dining and the market is, in terms of compliance with the regulations, I think if there's anything where people fall short is wearing a mask. And when you're not being served or eating or drinking at the moment, you know, you should be wearing a mask at our outdoor dining. And that's one I think the community, and that's every community in Illinois, struggling with. The other element is, I think generally speaking, the farmers market people were very well behaved and wore masks there, and we did hand out masks. President O'Hara, you were handing out masks, and people generally behaved and followed those regulations as well. But that's the one I think is going to continue to be an item that we're going to have to continue to patrol throughout the summer. So
I think that's a very good point, because reading some of the latest statistics on the COVID, but we are testing more, and there are fewer positives. However, it is the actual cases are on the uprise, and that's a concern. So we don't want to see another wave. So if people would follow the masks when they're not eating or when they're out of public, it would really, I think, help us all. Do you have anything else you'd like to say, sir?
no, ma'am.
How about the village attorney tonight?
No report tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, village president's report. I'm going to ask for another extension of the village president's declaration of civil emergency. Just to briefly say, on March 18th, I issued a declaration of emergency for the village of Lake Bluff for the COVID-19 emergency. I have stated several times what it has done. I would like to ask that we could possibly continue that, as we have others, until our next board meeting, so that we can then reassess how things are going. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Dewart. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Ankerman. Roll call, please.
Trustee Dewart.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Do we need to clarify that the motion is to extend the village president's March 18th, 2020 declaration of emergency until the next regular, special, or emergency meeting of the village board?
Yeah, you can clarify. That was my understanding of what the motion was, as stated by the village president.
Okay, we're all right? Okay.
All right.
Okay. One other thing, I also wish to thank everyone who was involved with the farmers market. I thought, in light of what we had to do this year, what everyone had to how everyone had to behave and to work for this and to this up, it was done very well. I think it was very positive, a lot of great vibes, but a great appreciation to everybody who was involved in making this a successful first market, as also for the outside dining and seating, which I thought everyone breathed a sigh of relief. And here, listening to people all weekend outside and talking, I think was a great relief for everybody. So thank everyone who was involved in that. One other thing I would kind of like to mention tonight. Last Monday, there was a Black Lives Matter demonstration in our downtown with about 15 people from the North Chicago area participating. They were polite and respectful, as were the citizens of Lake Bluff. On Saturday, another walk was held with a larger participation, including some local residents. Again, polite and respectful. In 2017, the village adopted the second strategic plan, which laid out 7 guiding principles describing our shared values to serve as guideposts for our conduct and behavior in all circumstances and apply to everybody without exception. They are: take personal responsibility for the quality of our community, act with integrity, accountability, and in the best interest of all, demonstrate kindness, neighborliness, and concern for others, be inclusive, welcoming, and open-minded, interact with respect and civility in all circumstances, embrace a positive, forward-looking orientation, cherish our history, culture, and legacy of excellence. However, These are just words unless we strive to follow them. Last week's demonstrations were a good example of those guidelines being followed. We constantly must remind ourselves that our actions are more powerful than words and so much more sustainable. The past 2 weeks in our country have shown that Lake Bluff needs to keep those guidelines in the forefront and mirror our actions, follow them. Thank you for that. I'd like to go on to the next part of the agenda, which is the acceptance of the correspondence. Correspondence which was delivered to the Village Board of Trustees in our informational reports on May 22nd and 29th, 2020. Do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Marquis, and do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Toll. All right. All in favor?
Roll call
Aye.
vote.
Oh, it's a roll call. Sorry about that. Excuse me.
Trustee Markey.
Just ran up. All right.
Trustee Markey.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry. Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
All right, we have item number 11, which is a resolution approving a site plan for the Animal Hospital of Westlake Forest located at 999 Sherwood Drive. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
So moved, and that was that Mr. Dewar or Mr. Meyer? Okay,
Meyer.
and then second by Ms. Ankerman.
Right.
Thank you. The Animal Hospital of Westlake Forest is proposing to move into one of the two buildings on the Smedbow property at 999 Sherwood Drive. The Village Board approved a special use permit at their December 9th meeting and a site plan for their parking lot expansion at the January 13th meeting. At the June 2nd Architectural Board of Review, Dr. Brian D. Fiuscia presented plans for a garbage enclosure, rooftop back unit screening, and building alterations that include a new front entry. The ABR voted 6-0 to recommend the Village Board approve the site plan for the proposed changes. You all have received a copy of that in your packet of the site plan. Does anyone have any comments or questions regarding this? All right, hearing none, could we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye. We now go to item number 12, which is a resolution approving a site plan for alterations to the courtyard at Carriageway Shopping Mall at 201 to 235 Waukegan Road. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, I believe that was Ms. Marquis and then Mr. Dewar the second.
Sure.
Taxman Corporation, the owners of the Carriageway Mall, would like to provide more space for outdoor dining to accommodate outdoor dining with proper spacing due to COVID-19. They are proposing to infill 4 of the 8 landscaped areas in the courtyard with concrete and to change the material of the center circle from paver bricks, which have to be re-leveled frequently, to concrete. The Architectural Board of Review reviewed their proposal at their June 2nd meeting and voted 6-0 to recommend the Village Board approve the site plan with the following conditions. The applicant consider an alternative color and pattern in lieu of the stamped artificial stone texture for the center circle. That the applicant provide a design for the pattern of score lines for all the new concrete, and that these details be submitted to staff and the ABR chairman for final approval. Do we have any questions regarding this proposal? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey. Aye. Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
We have item number 13, which is a resolution approving a license agreement to use a portion of village property west of 19 East Blodgett Avenue. Do I I have a motion to adopt this resolution.
So moved.
So move that was Mr. Toll. And second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Charlot. The village has previously approved other license agreements to authorize the installation of private improvements such as fencing and landscaping in village-owned areas adjacent to private property. Edward and Erica Deegan have owned and lived at 19 East Blodgett Avenue since 2004. At the time they purchased the property, a portion of the village-owned property to the west was separated from the larger village green space by a row of bushes. This village property immediately to their west had a fence and a play set on it. The Deegans have continued to mow and maintain the landscaping on this property as the previous owners did, and wish to maintain a fence and play equipment on this. Do we have any questions regarding this license?
Madam President, may I make a quick comment, or actually two quick comments?
Please.
One, there's a technical difficulty in the village's meeting is not being televised right now. I just wanted to point that out so everybody knew, but it's certainly it will be placed on the village's website as soon as it's available, and we can place it out there. I just want to make that point. The second thing is, you may notice Chair Anchorman is off the call right now. She, I think she tried to get your attention, but she is.
I'm sorry that I missed that. Yes.
She's trying to
recuse herself.
Yes.
Right.
So she is. She's not on the call right
Yes,
now,
I believe
and I've muted her. So.
Drew, do we have audio stream?
Glenn, do we have audio still or no?
We do not. It's a technical issue with being able to switch to our live meeting at our junction point in Lake Forest. Or interconnection point, if you would.
Just FYI, that does not create a legal problem. It's a communication problem.
I just have a quick question for clarification. I assume that there was no license agreement in place for the conditions that it was in prior to this, and also this is no greater space that they're asking to use, right? It's just what they've been using since they moved in. Is that correct?
I can answer that, and Mike, you can maybe fill in some of the blanks, but it's our understanding that the previous property owner used the property in a similar manner, and this is more of a cleanup item. We've tried to, from time to time, clean these issues up as we come along them, you know, if they approach the village in one way or another, and try to manage them through the license agreements where there's been improvements on public property. If it's not compatible with the village goals, whether it be infrastructure needs or otherwise, we won't recommend or bring this to you all. We'll say you just need to get the property back the way it was. In situations like this, again, doesn't appear to conflict with any village goals or objectives.
Good, thank you.
Anybody else have a question? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Charlo.
Aye.
Trustee Dewart.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
I'm gonna unmute Barb.
Okay. Agenda item 14, excuse me, which is a resolution approving an amended and restated intergovernmental service agreement by and between the Village of Lake Bluff and the City of Lake Forest. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Meyer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Markey. The village administrator, finance director, and fire chief have met with Lake Forest representatives over an extended period of time to review and refresh the intergovernmental service agreement, which has been in place decades and most recently updated in May 2011. The primary purpose of the review was to determine an equitable fee structure for ambulance services, which has been a matter of dispute for the past 3 years. After lengthy negotiations, staff is recommending the village amend the intergovernmental agreement to reflect the following changes. Ambulance service. Provide payments to the City of Lake Forest for ambulance service based on a time and materials approach, which will include specific rate for patient transports, non-transports, when a person declines transport, lift assist, and cancel call for service. While village costs will go up under this approach, the new approach appears fair and consistent with the actual cost of the service, and the increased fees are accounted for in the current budget, including a portion of payments for prior years of service under the proposed formula. And fire dispatch service. Since both the city and the village are customers of the Village of Glenview Public Safety Dispatch, and neither agency operates a dispatch system, this section of the intergovernmental agreement can be eliminated. The Village Finance Committee discussed this at their Wednesday, May 27th, 2020 meeting, and unanimously recommended the Village Board approve the amendments. As always, village staff will be in attendance to answer any questions.
Madam
Does
President,
anyone
I also,
have any questions, comments regarding this new intergovernmental?
I do. I'm sorry, and I
Sir?
wanted to make a clarification that was not in the memorandum, but was in the red line agreement that was provided to everyone.
Please.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. So of the variety of services that are shared between the City of Lake Forest and the Village of Lake Bluff, one of them that's been modified that was not highlighted again in the memorandum was dealing with public access television services. There were some changes to that language as well. And really, I guess I wanted to give a state of affairs in that regard, but really lay out what I think how this will maybe not really be a material issue at all. So the village and the city used to jointly support at least 2 staff persons and equipment in the city of Lake Forest to provide this. We mentioned earlier about the television program on the cable, that public access channel. Over the years, the city of Lake Forest has chosen to jettison those services internally. They've used an outsourced provider for that, and the village and the city have the same contractor, in fact, that provides those services. In fact, was one of those employees that was providing those services in-house for the city. Consumer and behavior continue to change dramatically in how people actually view television and media. It's not uncommon to be viewed over the phone or on your television screen or a number of screens, right? And so the idea of the village using a PEG channel, the public access, is I think continues to evolve. But what we wanted to recognize in some way is that with this modification is, one, we are using outside contractors. It's not an internal service anymore. And 2, Lake Forest is certainly willing to continue, other than tonight, apparently, to provide the relay services for us. It's obviously a technical issue tonight, but they are viewing this as, in the long term, they may not invest in this technology in the long term. And speaking with Glenn, who is our subject matter expert on production of videos internally, right now we could switch a couple data cables and produce this and put this out on YouTube TV or something for relatively low cost. And so we're going to be talking to the city of Lake Forest about moving forward of how we continue to do this. Yes, there are still subscribers to cable TV, but I think, again, that will continue to move towards a complete a la carte menu and how people consume video programming. So I just wanted to call that out. Right now, Lake Forest and us would continue to provide this service in the near term, but that'll be something that I'll bring to you later as this continues to evolve. But I just want to make sure you understood that there were changes in the IGA reflecting that type of service.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Yep.
Anyone else have a question, comment? Hearing
Yes.
none, roll call. Oops, I'm sorry.
Yes, Administrator Irvin and I talked about the services that are provided in between Lake Bluff and Lake Forest by Lake Forest to Lake Bluff for ambulance services. But the thing I have a concern with, and we do not have an answer to that, is fluctuation in the future, where we don't know the cost, where the people have stopped going to the hospital because they're afraid to go to the hospital, but that cost could actually go up in the future, and we do not know how much. And with our budget in trouble by 20%, I don't know how that would actually fluctuate around budget as well. Drew?
Yeah, and I think the answer is right now, the volume of calls has been static or down based off that. But when the costs go up, it's the two things that drive the cost for us are volume of calls and Lake Forest's volume of calls, because that affects the cost per call. Again, most of these things are out of our control, and it's the number at the end of the year. The way this is set up, it's based off of this new formula is based off a budgeted cost per call based off the prior year's budget. And then after a 12-month window of time, the village is billed in quarterly increments. At the end of the 12 months, the village and the city have a reconciliation at the end of the year where we actually say what were the actual costs, and then there's either a credit that's issued to the village, or we get sent an additional bill because we may owe more than we've paid over time. But the idea is we come up with a plan for a 12-month period. We get billed on that based off the number of calls for that period of time, and then we have a true up at the end of it that we know what at that point what they've spent and what we've spent and what we've been able to recapture back through the billing services and the collection agency. So at the end of it, at the end of the window, we have a clarity on what we actually spent. And so it's a fluid situation in terms of billing. But I think Trustee Charlot's concern was, given the pandemic impact to revenue, is this going to be a significant bite to that? And the answer is we don't know, because we don't know or control the number of calls per se, because we don't know how many people are going to call, other than what we've seen in the past. And usually it's been anywhere between 225 and 300. So there's an ebb and flow, but right now things look on the low side of that.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, roll call, please.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherla.
Aye.
Madam President, if I had just made one additional
All
trailing
right, we're
comment.
up to item number 15, which is a resolution.
Madam President, may I make one trailing comment on the IGA?
Please.
Yeah, just one of the things, it was important for the village to get through with this, because there was a serious dispute between the city and the village over the billing and the IGA, the way that worked. And I've had conversations with Fire Chief Graff, and I'd like to reiterate conversations that we had at the Finance Committee level in the past. Is the idea is the village's service provision is there's a lot of considerations. One of them is economics, quality, level of service, and so forth. But that is something that is fluid, and that the village is constantly examining how we provide services. And I think we talked about this at the Finance Committee meeting. But if we can find a better way, a less expensive way, a more efficient way to provide similar services, to include ambulance, then of course we're going to examine them and continue to do so on a regular basis, to include even us doing it in-house if that becomes a way we can do it better and less expensive potentially. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay, yes, and since this has been ongoing for several years, and I know Mr. Dewar and I were involved in a couple of the conversations with Lake Forest, and we'd like to definitely reassure our community that our fire department and our administration and our board constantly looking at, as Drew said, best, most efficient, most cost-effective ways of delivering this all-important service to our residents. And we are always looking to make it better, find better ways, and that will be ongoing. All right, did we do the roll call yet?
And just for my records, Clerk Michael, who made the motion and who made this? I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
Trustee Meyer made the motion and Trustee Markey seconded it.
Thank you.
All right, we have not done the roll. Have we done the roll call yet?
We
Yes.
have.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I got interrupted so much I forgot.
My
Okay, thank you.
apologies.
Absolutely, no, all good stuff. Seriously, very important stuff for us. We move ahead here. Agenda number item 16, which is a resolution authorizing change order number 1 for the village's 2020 sanitary sewer lining project. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Dewar. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ankelman. On February 24th, the Village Board approved a resolution authorizing the execution of a construction contract with Harcourt Construction of Goodfield, Illinois, for the 2020 sanitary sewer lining project in the amount of $112,136.20. During construction, additional unexpected costs were incurred. The three major sources of additional costs came from: 1, additional cleaning of sewers was required prior to lining. It was anticipated the sewers would need only minimal cleaning due to them having been cleaned in the prior year. 1 cast iron sewer lateral was protruding into the village's main and needed to be cut to allow for the installation of the liner. Cast iron laterals are considerably more difficult to cut than the much more common clay laterals. The quality of 6-inch sewer lining was increased to complete a segment on Circle Drive, which was in poor condition. The additional work raised the final value of the contract approximately $10,600 more than the originally approved amount. In accordance with village purchasing policy, a change order of this amount requires the approval of the village board. The work was completed in FY 2020, and the FY 2020 budget contained adequate funds for the increase in work. Village engineer recommends that the village board approve the change order to the construction contract for the increase in scope during the 2020 sanitary sewer liner project. Any of the trustees have questions regarding this?
I had asked a question of Jeff through Drew, if that protrusion of the lateral was something that was due to recent construction, and was there any recourse, was there some kind of a problem, and we had recourse back to the installation, and Jeff
The
shared
answer
with
was, yeah,
no.
relatively new, as in 1950 era, we guess.
Yeah. So thank you.
My only oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, I had asked a question earlier to Drew about the cleaning of the, that we had to clean the sewer out again. And if that was indicative, since we just cleaned it, if that was indicative of some other problem, or if there just happens to be a lot of sewage running through that pipe. Drew, did you happen to?
I can answer that. There was a lot of
thanks,
mineral
Jeff.
deposits in as opposed to, it wasn't sewage, it was minerals. It had to be cut out.
And that was was that the normal amount of buildup for a year, or because we just had it cleaned out last year, there's no other issue going on there? Is this just the normal?
Yeah, when we clean, otherwise it's not as effective as getting the mineral deposits out. It cleans up all the debris and stuff that's sitting there in roots mostly, but the mineral deposits really don't get cleaned out.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Trustee Markey. Aye. Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankelman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Village President O'Hara, I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to continue to interrupt you. I wanted to call out that we need to go back and do the Paylocity agreement, item number 15.
Did I miss that?
I'm sure it was due to my interruptions, so.
Yeah, you discombobulated me. All right. Fine. Item number 15. Sorry about that. Give me a minute here. My rather cavalier. Hello. Yes. Okay. My apologies. Which is number 15, which is a resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving an agreement with Paylocity Corporation, which is payroll and human resources services. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Ankerman, and second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Charlot. Staff has identified opportunities to improve human resources management that would best be accomplished in conjunction with the village's payroll software. In short, these opportunities move towards an integrated human resources system rather than a simple payroll provider. These include migrating paper workflows such as personnel actions to electronic workflows, eliminating manual accounting work necessary to coordinate payroll and the general ledger, better tracking of employee training that is particularly valuable for risk management, self-directed training to reduce in-person assemblies and training fees. While the village's current provider, ADP, offers products that are responsive to some of these needs, the village has not evaluated competitive payrolling firm in some time. Staff engaged in a review of competitors and recommends the villages migrate to Paylocity. Their proposal includes the above improvements, which would be an additional fee with ADP, and either after implementation costs in the first year would provide an ongoing annual cost savings of about $3,700 or about 25% compared to the village's annual charges with ADP. Paylocity has also offered additional one-time incentives, including three free months of service worth approximately $2,300. The Finance Committee considered this item in its May 27th meeting, recommended approval. The attached resolution will authorize the changes to providers and allow the village administrator to add or remove services as appropriate up to an annual total equal to the village administration purchasing authority of $20,000. We've already had a motion and to approve and accept. Any questions regarding this? Hearing none, roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to thank the village staff for doing this and finding cost savings, and probably a company that's a little more innovative and flexible than ADP. So thank you very much.
I agree. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Trustee Sherlow.
Aye.
Trustee Dewart.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Okay. We now have item number 17, which is an ordinance regarding the return of forfeiture of guarantee deposits for building and right-of-way permits. This is, by the way, a first reading approval. May I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Meyer. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Toll. The village collects cash deposits in connection with major construction projects, such as new houses, as well as construction of the village right-of-way, such as driveways. These deposits ensure that permittees pursue completion or else restore construction sites, including village property, to their original condition. By ordinance, a deposit is returned upon the completion of the permitted work or forfeited to the village if the work is not properly completed. As of the village's last audited financial statements, which was April 30th, 2019, the village holds a total of 211 such deposits, totaling $429,217.51 that are not associated with an active permit. Oldest deposit held dates to 1993. These deposits no longer need to be maintained by the village. Finance Committee considered this item on May 27 and recommended approval. The attached ordinance, which established a process for staff to dispose of these deposits as discussed by the committee, including following a review of outstanding deposits, and any that were associated with a permit that was clearly not completed would be forfeited to the village. In all other cases, the permit applicant would be mailed a notice at their last known address and asked to demonstrate that work was completed. A refund would be provided if they do so. Subsequent notices would be mailed at 30-day intervals. If an applicant still has not replied 30 days after the third notice, which is a total of 90 days, the deposit will be forfeited to the village. Provisions have been made for publishing notice in the newspapers for deposit where no address is known, as well as for the ability for the village to inspect work before a refund in certain cases. In addition, staff recommends a change to one code provision to clarify that the applicant bears the burden of requesting a timely final inspection in order to receive their deposit back. Do we have any questions regarding this?
Yeah, I had a
Madam
thought-
President, I was just going to offer, Madam President, that we did receive an email about this earlier in the day. I actually believe the gentleman who submitted the email is on the phone call. I'm certainly, according to what we advertise with our meetings and our agendas, we tell folks that if they submit an email, we'll read it publicly. I didn't want to do that unnecessarily if Mr. Roth wanted to make a comment on his own on this item. Is he going? Yes, his hand went up.
Okay. Mr. Roth, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President O'Hara, trustees. Good evening. Yeah, and Mr. Irvin and I spoke earlier, and to be clear, I had provided comments to all of you on this topic. And our concerns, and I want to make a little clarification.
And Mr. Roth, if you would you please introduce yourself so they know who you're speaking for others?
Absolutely, apologize. Joe Roth with the Illinois Association of Realtors. Our concerns, aren't about necessarily the process, the refund. I think we're okay with that. And really, our concerns are not about the elected officials and the staff that are in the room today. We look at this from a view of who's going to be reading this ordinance in 10 years, and how can that be interpreted in 10 years? And I think there's a lot of ability here to maybe deny more returns than are provided in terms of getting these deposits back into the hands of property owners in a timely manner. I know, having gone through home improvement projects myself, that oftentimes these things go past the initial target date, and when you're talking about issues such as sewer line connections, those are things that will often, fail a first inspection or fail an inspection because something else needs to be done, whatever that may be. And so I think if the intent is to refund this money and to get it back out, that's great. Our concern was really this second part, where we're tying this deposit to more than just the protection of public properties.
Anything else there, sir?
And that is all. Thank you.
Thank you.
And as Mr. Roth had said, Village President O'Hara, he and I had a conversation earlier, and I explained to him, I think the village's practice has been certainly not to forfeit these monies. In fact, that's why we're in the situation we're in.
With a rather large amount of money.
Yeah, and so the idea is, and I explained to him that our intentions is to return the money. That's our first and foremost goal, and that these amendments really clarify a pathway and a process to do that. That's a rational and logical way to go about communicating with those whose monies we've been sitting on for an extended period of time, that for some reason or another have chosen not to come looking for it, have not chosen to close out a project. And we just want to get this money back to them if we can, and just wanted to set that out, a pathway to do that.
Could I ask a question? I don't know if this is Drew or Bettina, but we had some new software a couple of years ago that was touted as being able to connect various modules and look at a project going through the process of different hands at the village. And would this software have any capability to help us in terms of a reminder that this is due to be returned, or this project initially was supposed to take 24 months, and so it kind of comes up and is flagged? Does the software kind of help in any way?
I don't know if Bettina or Mike want to handle that. I think the short, Mike, I see you.
Yeah.
Yes, the software does help. We're able to generate reports that show, you know, what permits are about to expire or have recently expired. So we're able to, you know, contact people and ask them, you know, what the status of their project is and where they're at with that. So yes, the new software is helping us a lot. As far as
And we did not have that. And so looking back, that's where a lot of those projects lie, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? All right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Trustee Charlo.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
And Madam President, just one more final note on this. I know this, why not do it on every item? I'll keep on doing it. I asked, just to Mr. Roth's concern, I did ask Jeff Hansen, who's been with the village a little over 4 years now. I asked him in his years here, how many right-of-way permits did he seek to hold on to a right-of-way bond for work that was incomplete or done improperly? And his answer was, I'll let you answer that, Jeff. It's a pregnant pause.
Zero. Yeah.
Zero. Mike, I didn't ask you that same question, and I don't know how. There may be times when you've been here longer.
We've held on to a bond?
Yeah, for a reason, because not because somebody failed to ask for a final inspection or didn't take, you know, their steps, just because it was in dispute or something.
Well, I mean, yes, we've certainly had people, you know, the first one that comes to mind is a big national builder who was working down on Sheridan Road who haven't completed their projects by the expiration date and have paid penalties and all that. And we've been, you know, very glad that we were holding a bond, so we had a way to recover the money if they didn't pay their extension fees or penalties and all that. But in the end, they did pay their extension fees and penalties and all that, and they did complete their project and they did get their bond back in the end. So I think the process has generally worked very well. I would also like to say, I think we collect very few bonds compared to other municipalities where I've worked. And that actually ends up being a relatively efficient process because we have a relatively small number of violations or projects that go awry. So not going to the trouble of collecting the bond for a lot of small projects and not having those to refund works out to be very efficient for us.
Thank you, Mike.
Sure.
Anyone else? Okay. Roll call, please.
Already had the vote.
Oh, I already hit vote. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, my fault.
That's
All
first.
right. That's first reading is correct. There will be another reading of that. That will come up again in 2 weeks. All right, at this point, we have the trustees report. Any of the trustees this evening? Oh, okay. Executive session, as I understand it tonight, is simply the consideration of the minutes of the May 22nd meeting. So I'm going to propose that we do not have to go into executive session this evening, that we just consider those minutes. I don't believe, is that correct, Mr. Friedman? You have nothing to report tonight, do you? No.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so the consideration of the minutes of the meeting of May 27th, executive session. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Dewar, and a second, please.
Second.
A second by, is that Ms. Markey?
Kidman.
Ms. Ankerman, I'm sorry. All right, any additions, corrections? Roll call, please, then.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
Trustee Charlo.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer.
Aye.
Trustee Toll.
Aye.
All right, I am going to ask for an motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Meyer. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Charlo. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Roll call.
Oh, roll call, I'm sorry. Let's try a shortcut. Okay, roll call.
Trustee Charlo.
Aye.
Trustee Dewar.
Aye.
Trustee Markey.
Aye.
Trustee Meyer,
Aye.
Trustee Toll,
Aye.
Trustee Ankerman.
Aye.
All right, we are hereby adjourned, and thank everyone for tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Good evening.
Okay, good
Thank
evening.
you and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.